I never thought I'd be sitting in a fertility clinic at 32 years old. But life has a way of taking us down roads we never imagined. The waiting room smelled like lavender and desperation. A strange combination that seemed to permeate every corner of the pristine office in downtown Seattle. I twisted my wedding ring around my finger, a nervous habit I developed over the past year. Ever since Michael and I had started trying for a baby, the walls were decorated with soft watercolors of abstract flowers. The kind of art that's supposed to be soothing but instead felt hollow. Around me, other couples sat in various states of anxiety. Some held hands tightly, others stared at their phones, avoiding eye contact with anyone who might witness their vulnerability. I understood that impulse completely. Emma Richardson? A nurse in pale blue scrubs appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand. Her smile professionally warm. I stood up quickly, almost too quickly, and followed her down a hallway lined with more abstract art. My heart was pounding so hard I wondered if she could hear it. This was supposed to be a routine consultation, just a first step to understand why, after 18 months of trying, Michael and I hadn't been able to conceive. We'd done everything right, tracked my cycle with military precision, taken all the right vitamins, maintained healthy lifestyles. Yet every month brought the same crushing disappointment. The examination room was smaller than I expected, with a desk, a computer, and the standard medical bed covered in white paper. The nurse took my vitals, asked me a series of questions I'd already answered on the intake forms, and then told me Dr. Patricia Chen would be with me shortly. The door clicked shut, and I was alone with my thoughts and the faint hum of the ventilation system. I pulled out my phone and saw a text from Michael. "Thinking of you. Call me as soon as you're done. Love you." We decided he didn't need to come to this first appointment. It was just going to be a conversation, a review of my medical history, maybe some blood work. We'd face whatever came next together, but this first step I wanted to take alone. I needed to prove to myself that I was strong enough to handle it. The truth was, I'd been feeling increasingly isolated in my grief. Every pregnancy announcement from friends felt like a personal attack. Every baby shower invitation was a reminder of what I didn't have. I'd started avoiding social media altogether because the parade of gender reveal parties and newborn photos made me feel like I was drowning. Michael tried to understand, but he couldn't truly know what it felt like to have your body betray you month after month. A knock on the door pulled me from my spiral. Dr. Chen entered. And I was immediately struck by how young she looked, probably only a few years older than me. With kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. "Emma, it's nice to meet you," she said, extending her hand. Her handshake was firm and confident. "I've reviewed your intake forms and medical history. I know how difficult this journey can be, but I want you to know that you're in good hands here." I nodded, not trusting my voice. There was something about kindness from strangers that always threatened to undo me completely. Dr. Chen sat down at the computer and pulled up what I assumed was my file. "I'd like to start by asking you a few questions that might not have been covered in the forms, just to get a complete picture. Is that okay?" "Of course," I managed. "You mentioned you've been actively trying to conceive for about 18 months now. Have you ever been pregnant before?" The question hung in the air like smoke. It was such a simple, standard question. I'm sure she asked it dozens of times a day. But for me, it triggered something I wasn't prepared for. My throat tightened, and I felt my eyes begin to burn with tears I'd sworn I wouldn't shed in this office. "No," I said quietly. "Never." Dr. Chen nodded, making a note. "And have you ever had any surgeries, particularly in the pelvic area? Any history of endometriosis, PCOS, or other reproductive health issues?" "No, nothing like that. I've always been healthy. Regular periods, no major health problems." She continued typing, then pulled up what looked like test results on her screen. "We ran some preliminary blood work based on what your primary care physician sent over, and I'd like to order a few more comprehensive tests today. But before we move forward, I need to ask you about something that's showing up in your medical records." My stomach dropped. This was it, the moment she'd tell me there was something wrong with me. Some fundamental flaw that meant I'd never be able to have a child. "Emma, Dr. Chen said gently, turning away from the computer to face me directly. According to these records, you've already had a child. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the examination table, certain I'd misheard her. What? No, that's impossible. There must be some mistake. I've never had a child. Dr. Chen's expression shifted from professional curiosity to concern. She turned back to the computer, scrolling through information I couldn't see. These are your records, correct? Emma Jane Richardson, date of birth March 15th, 1992. Yes, but according to this, you delivered a baby girl on November 3rd, 2018 at Seattle Grace Hospital. You were 26 years old at the time. The air left my lungs. November 3rd, 2018. I would have been 26. But I had never been pregnant, never given birth. I would remember something like that. Wouldn't I? That's not possible, I repeated, but my voice sounded strange to my own ears. I was never pregnant. I'd never had a child. Dr. Chen's face had gone pale. Emma, I need you to stay calm. There could be a clerical error, but these records are quite detailed. They include your signature on discharge papers. She turned the monitor so I could see it. There in black and white was a birth record. My name, my date of birth, my social security number, and the notation, Lev birth, female infant, 6 pounds 4 ounces, delivered at 2:47 a.m. I stared at the screen, my mind frantically searching for an explanation. Could this be identity theft? A mix-up in the hospital system? But as I looked at the signature on the digital copy of the discharge papers, my heart stopped. It looked exactly like my signature. I don't understand, I whispered. This can't be real. Dr. Chen stood up and moved to sit in the chair next to me rather than behind the desk. Emma, I think we need to pause the fertility consultation. Something much more significant is happening here. Is there any possibility, and I need you to think carefully, that you could have experienced a traumatic event around that time? Any period of your life where your memory might be unclear? I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. How could someone forget being pregnant for 9 months? How could someone forget giving birth? But as I searched my memory for what I'd been doing in November 2018, I felt a strange blankness, like trying to see through fog. I was working, I said slowly. I had just started a new job at a marketing firm. I was living. The thought trailed off. Where had I been living? Michael and I had only been dating then. We didn't move in together until 2019. I had an apartment. I was sure of it, but I couldn't picture it clearly. Emma, I think you should call someone. Your husband, a family member. And I'm going to recommend that you see a specialist, not for fertility, but to help you understand what's happening here. I nodded numbly, but inside my head, questions were exploding like fireworks. Who was I in 2018? And what happened to the baby girl this record claimed I'd given birth to? The drive home was a blur. I'd told Dr. Chen I was fine to drive, but I honestly couldn't remember most of the journey. I found myself pulling into the driveway of the house Michael and I had bought 2 years ago in Ballard, a charming neighborhood with tree-lined streets and cafes on every corner. Our house was a craftsman bungalow painted a soft gray with white trim. We'd fallen in love with it immediately, picturing ourselves raising a family here. Now, as I stared at it through the windshield, it looked like a stranger's home. Michael's car was already in the driveway. He must have left work early. I checked my phone and saw 3 missed calls from him and several texts asking if I was okay. The appointment had been scheduled for an hour. I'd been gone for almost 3. Before I could gather myself, the front door opened, and Michael came rushing out. He was still in his work clothes, khakis and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up, his dark hair disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. When he reached my car and saw my face, his expression shifted from worry to alarm. Emma, what happened? What did the doctor say? I couldn't speak. I just shook my head and let him help me out of the car. He guided me into the house, into the living room we decorated together with mid-century modern furniture and plants that I somehow managed to keep alive. He sat me down on the couch and knelt in front of me, his hands on my knees. Baby, you're scaring me. Please talk to me. The word, baby, broke something inside me. A sound came out of my mouth that was half laugh, half sob. The doctor said I've already had a baby. In 2018, a little girl. Michael's face went through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, disbelief, and finally something that looked almost like fear. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone where I'd taken a photo of the computer screen before leaving the clinic. Dr. Chen had given me permission, understanding that I'd need proof that I wasn't losing my mind. I showed Michael the birth record with my name on it. He stared at it for a long moment. This has to be a mistake. Some kind of clerical error. You've never been pregnant. I would know. You would know. That's what I said. But Michael, look at the details. My social security number, my signature on the discharge papers. How do you explain that? He stood up and started pacing, a habit he had when he was trying to solve a problem. Michael was an engineer, someone who dealt in facts and figures and logical solutions. This situation defied all of that. We'll call the hospital, he said firmly. We'll get this sorted out. Obviously, someone made a mistake, or maybe there's another Emma Richardson who was born on the same day. It happens. But even as he said it, I could see the doubt in his eyes. He'd seen the signature too. Michael, I said quietly, I can't remember where I was living in late 2018. Can you remember? We were dating then, but not living together yet. He stopped pacing and turned to look at me. You had that apartment in Capitol Hill, the one with the weird landlord who was always trying to get you to take salsa lessons with him. Right, I said. But the memory felt borrowed, like something someone had told me rather than something I'd experienced. And I was working a T. What was the name of that marketing firm? Brightside Creative, Michael answered, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. Emma, what are you saying? I'm saying that when I try to remember that time in my life, everything feels fuzzy. Like I'm trying to remember a dream. Michael came back to the couch and sat next to me, pulling me into his arms. I could feel his heart racing against my cheek. Okay, he said softly. Okay, we're going to figure this out. Tomorrow we'll go to the hospital and straighten out this records issue. And if there's something going on with your memory, we'll see a doctor about that too. We'll handle this together. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this was all just a bizarre misunderstanding that would be cleared up with a few phone calls. But deep down, something was whispering that the truth was much more complicated and much more terrifying. That night, I couldn't sleep. While Michael snored softly beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, trying to force my mind back to 2018. What had I been doing in November? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my photos, looking for anything from that time period. There were pictures from September, a hiking trip Michael and I had taken to the San Juan Islands. There were pictures from January 2019 New Year's Eve at his friend's party. Me wearing a sparkly dress and laughing at something off camera, but November and December of 2018 were blank. Not a single photo. I went to my social media accounts next. Surely, I would have posted something during those months. But when I looked at my Instagram feed from that time, there was a gap. My last post before the blank period was in October, a picture of a latte with the caption, "Fall Vibes." My next post wasn't until January. My hands were shaking as I opened Facebook. Same thing, a 2-month gap in my activity. How had I never noticed this before? I slipped out of bed and went downstairs to my office, a small room we'd converted into a workspace with built-in bookshelves and a desk that faced the window. I pulled out a box from the closet where I kept old journals and planners. I'd always been the type of person who liked to write things down, to keep track of appointments and thoughts and daily happenings. I found my 2018 planner and flipped to November. The pages were blank. Completely blank. No appointments, no notes, nothing. The same was true for December. But January 2019 picked back up with normal entries, doctor's appointments, dinner dates with Michael. Work meetings. 2 months of my life were simply missing. I must have made some kind of noise because suddenly Michael was there in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. What are you doing? I held up the planner. I can't find any record of November or December 2018. No photos. No social media posts, no journal entries. Michael, what was I doing for those 2 months? He moved into the room and took the planner from my hands, flipping through the pages himself. I watched his face as the reality of the situation began to sink in. "We need to call your parents," he said finally. I felt my stomach clench. My parents, Dr. Eleanor Richardson and Dr. James Richardson, both professors at the University of Washington, my mother in psychology, my father in biology. They were brilliant, rational people who had raised me to be the same. The idea of calling them with this insane story made me want to hide under the covers like a child. But Michael was right. If anyone would remember what I'd been doing in late 2018, it would be them. At 7 in the morning, a barely acceptable hour to call one's parents. I dialed my mother's number. She answered on the second ring. Her voice bright and alert. She'd always been an early riser. "Emma, darling, this is a pleasant surprise. Is everything okay?" I closed my eyes. "Mom, I need to ask you something, and it's going to sound strange." "Okay," she said slowly. And I could hear the concern creeping into her voice. "Do you remember what I was doing in November and December of 2018? There was a long pause. "Why are you asking about that specific time?" My heart started racing. "Mom, please just tell me what you remember." Another pause, longer this time. "Emma, I think you should come over. Your father and I need to talk to you." "Mom, what's going on?" "Please just come over." "Can you come this morning?" I looked at Michael, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation with growing alarm. "We'll be there in an hour," I told her. The drive to my parents' house in Madison Park felt like it took forever and no time at all. Michael held my hand the entire way, neither of us speaking. What was there to say? My mother's reaction had confirmed that something had happened during those missing months. Something significant enough that she wouldn't discuss it over the phone. My childhood home was a beautiful Tudor-style house with a view of Lake Washington. As a kid, I'd loved this house, loved the big backyard where I'd played, the window seat in my bedroom where I'd read countless books. Now, as Michael and I walked up to the front door, it felt ominous. My mother opened the door before we could knock. She looked older than I remembered, with more gray in her dark hair and deeper lines around her eyes. Or maybe it was just the expression on her face, a mixture of sadness and something that looked like guilt. "Come in," she said softly. "Your father is in the living room." My father stood as we entered, tall and thin with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He'd always reminded me of Mr. Rogers, gentle and soft-spoken with an underlying strength. Now he looked at me with such sorrow that I wanted to turn around and run. "Sit down, sweetheart," he said. Michael and I sat on the couch while my parents took the chairs across from us. The coffee table between us suddenly felt like a vast distance. "Mom, Dad, something happened at my doctor's appointment yesterday," I began. "The fertility specialist found records that say I gave birth to a baby in November 2018, but I don't remember being pregnant. I don't remember any of that time. And when I try to look back at my life from those months, everything is blank." My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father reached over and took her hand. "What's going on?" I demanded, my voice rising. "What happened to me?" My father cleared his throat. "Emma, what we're about to tell you is something we've agonized over for years. We convinced ourselves we were protecting you, that we were doing the right thing. But now," he trailed off, looking at my mother. She wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. "You were pregnant, Emma, in 2018. It was a very difficult situation." The room seemed to spin. "What do you mean, a difficult situation? How is that even possible? Whose baby was it? Do you remember Aaron?" My mother asked gently. "Aaron." The name triggered something, a cascade of memories that had been locked away. "Aaron Mitchell. We dated briefly when I was 25, right after I graduated from college. It had been intense and passionate and ultimately unhealthy. He was charismatic but controlling, jealous, prone to mood swings that scared me. I'd broken up with him after 6 months. And he'd made my life hell for weeks afterward, showing up at my apartment, calling me constantly, trying to convince me we were meant to be together. I remember Aaron," I said slowly. "But I broke up with him in 2017. He came back into your life in early 2018, my father said. You didn't tell us at the time, we only found out later. According to what you told your mother, he'd seemed different, like he'd gotten help and changed. You started seeing him again. Fragments of memory began surfacing, like pieces of a puzzle floating to the surface of dark water. Aaron's smile, his hand on the small of my back. Dinner at a restaurant I couldn't quite picture. But the memories felt wrong, incomplete, like watching scenes from a movie rather than remembering my own life. I don't remember that, I whispered. By the summer. You were pregnant, my mother continued, and her voice broke. When you told him, he didn't react well. He wanted you to terminate the pregnancy. When you refused, he became violent. The word violent hit me like a physical blow. Michael's hand tightened around mine. What did he do? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. You called me one night in August, my mother said, tears streaming down her face now. You were hysterical. He'd pushed you during an argument, and you'd hit your head on a table. You were bleeding and confused. Your father and I rushed to your apartment, and we took you to the hospital. You had a severe concussion, my father added, his voice clinical, retreating into medical facts the way he always did when emotions became too much. You were disoriented, having trouble with your memory. The doctors were concerned about the baby, but she seemed to be okay. Why don't I remember any of this? I asked, though I was starting to understand. The head injury affected your memory, my mother explained. You had periods of lucidity, but you were also confused, sometimes not recognizing us. The doctor said it would improve with time, but the pregnancy complicated everything. Your hormones, the stress, the trauma, it all combined to create a kind of fugue state. What happened to the baby? The question came out as barely more than a whisper. My parents exchanged a look that made my blood run cold. You gave birth in early November, as the records show, my father said. A healthy baby girl. You named her Lily. Lily. The name resonated somewhere deep inside me, in a place beyond conscious memory. I could almost feel tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb, almost smell the sweet scent of a newborn's head. Where is she? I asked, where is my daughter? This was when my mother broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. My father's face was a mask of anguish. Emma, he said, you couldn't take care of her. Between the head injury and the postpartum depression, you were barely functioning. You didn't remember being pregnant half the time. You would look at the baby and not recognize her. The doctor said you needed intensive psychiatric care. So where is she? I repeated, my voice getting louder. Did you take her? Is she here? Is my daughter in this house? No, sweetheart, my mother managed to say through her tears. You made the decision in one of your lucid moments to place her for adoption. You said you couldn't give her the life she deserved, not in your condition. We tried to talk you out of it, tried to convince you that we could help, that you would get better. But you were adamant. The world was ending. That's what it felt like the ground was opening up beneath me and I was falling into an abyss. I had a daughter. I'd given birth to a daughter and then given her away, and I didn't remember any of it. You let me do that? I screamed, standing up. You let me give away my baby when I wasn't in my right mind. We thought you were making the right decision, my father said desperately. You seemed so sure in those moments when you were clear-headed. You talked about how she deserved a stable home, how you couldn't guarantee you'd be able to care for her. The adoption agency found a wonderful family. I don't care how wonderful they are. I was shaking, rage and grief fighting for dominance inside me. She was my daughter. How could you let this happen? Emma, please try to understand, my mother started. Understand what? That you let me give away my child? That you then made me forget about her? A horrible thought occurred to me. The memory loss, it didn't just heal on its own, did it? That's why there are no photos, no social media posts, no journal entries. You made me forget. You had someone mess with my memories. The look on my parents' faces told me I was right. It wasn't like that, my father said. After the adoption, you deteriorated even further. You became suicidal. The psychiatrist treating you suggested that perhaps, just perhaps, if we didn't constantly remind you of what had happened, if we let the damaged memories stay dormant, you might be able to heal and move forward with your life. So you erased her from my life, I said flatly. You erased my daughter like she never existed. We were trying to save you, my mother sobbed. You have to believe that. We were terrified we were going to lose you. And it worked, you got better. You met Michael. You built a life. You were happy. Based on a lie, I said. I turned to Michael, who looked shell-shocked. Did you know? No, he said immediately. Emma, I swear, I had no idea. I believed him. The horror on his face was too genuine to be fake. I need the adoption records, I said, turning back to my parents. I need to know where my daughter is. Emma, it was a closed adoption, my father said. You specifically requested that. You said you didn't want to be able to change your mind, that you needed to make a clean break. I don't care what I said when I wasn't in my right mind. I was screaming now and I didn't care. That's my daughter out there somewhere. She's 6 years old now, and she has no idea I exist. I need to find her. Even if we wanted to help you, we couldn't, my mother said miserably. We don't have any information about the adoptive family. That was all handled by the agency, and they assured us it was completely confidential. I felt like I was suffocating. I stumbled toward the door, desperate for air. Michael was right behind me. Emma. Wait, my father called out, but I was already out the door, gasping in the cool morning air. Trying to process the fact that somewhere in this city, or maybe not even in this city, maybe anywhere in the world, there was a little girl with my DNA who was being raised by strangers, who would never know my name. The next few days were a nightmare. I called in sick to work and spent my time obsessively researching adoption laws and closed adoptions and what rights biological parents had. The answer was, not many. Especially not when the adoption had been consensual and legal, which mine apparently had been. Michael tried to be supportive, but I could see the strain this was putting on our relationship. We'd gone from trying to start a family to learning that I'd already had a child I'd given away. It was too much for anyone to process. I started having dreams, vivid, visceral dreams that felt more like memories trying to surface. In them, I was holding a baby with a shock of dark hair and eyes that looked like mine. I was singing to her, rocking her, breathing in that sweet baby smell. Sometimes Aaron was in the dreams too, his face twisted with anger, his voice saying terrible things. I would wake up sobbing and Michael would hold me while I fell apart. I became determined to find my daughter. I contacted the hospital where she'd been born and requested my medical records. They sent me a stack of papers that confirmed everything my parents had told me: the head injury, the complicated pregnancy, the birth. There was even a photo, taken in the hospital, of me holding Lily. I stared at that photo for hours, studying every detail. I looked exhausted and confused in the picture, but there was something in my eyes when I looked at the baby, a fierce love that transcended the fog I'd been living in. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah Chen, who specialized in adoption cases. She was kind but realistic about my chances. Closed adoptions from 2018 are tough, she told me during our first meeting. The laws in Washington state protect the privacy of adoptive families. But I'll do what I can. I'll start with the adoption agency your parents remember and see if they're willing to provide any information. I just want to know she's okay, I said, and I meant it. I wasn't planning to disrupt her life or try to take her away from the only family she'd ever known. I just needed to know that my daughter was safe and loved and happy. Even that might not be possible, Sarah warned me. You have to prepare yourself for the possibility that you may never get any information at all. But I couldn't accept that. I spent every free moment searching for any clue that might lead me to Lily. I joined support groups for birth, mothers who'd placed children for adoption. And I heard stories that broke my heart: women who'd been coerced into giving up their babies. Women who'd spent decades searching for the children they'd lost. Was I one of them? Had I really made the choice freely, or had my damaged brain and the people around me pushed me toward a decision I never would have made if I'd been in my right mind? The question haunted me. 3 weeks after that fateful doctor's appointment, Sarah called me with news. She'd located the adoption agency Harmony Adoptions, a well-established organization with a good reputation. They'd confirmed that they'd handled an adoption matching the details I provided. But they refused to give any information about the adoptive family. However, Sarah said, and I could hear something in her voice that made my heart race. They did say that they maintain records that can be accessed once the adopted child turns 18. If Lily wants to search for you when she's an adult, the information will be there. 18. That was 12 years away. 12 years of not knowing if my daughter was okay, if she was happy, if she ever thought about where she came from. There's one more thing, Sarah said. The agency mentioned that sometimes adoptive families choose to send updates to the biological parent through the agency, photos, letters, that kind of thing. It's completely voluntary on their part, and it's rare in closed adoptions, but it does happen. I asked if there were any updates in your file. I held my breath. Emma, there are letters. 5 of them. 1 for each year since the adoption, plus 1 from right after. The adoptive parents wanted you to know she was okay. I started crying right there on the phone. Can I see them? The agency is mailing them to my office. I should have them by the end of the week. Those next few days were the longest of my life. I oscillated between desperate hope and crushing despair. What if the letters said Lily wasn't happy? What if they revealed that I'd made a terrible mistake? Or worse, what if they showed that she was thriving without me, proving that I'd been right to give her up? When Sarah finally called to say the letters had arrived, I raced to her office downtown. She handed me a manila envelope, and my hands shook as I opened it. Inside were 6 letters handwritten on nice stationery, along with photos. The first letter was written just a month after the adoption. Dear Emma, we wanted to reach out to let you know that Lily is doing wonderfully. She's a healthy, beautiful baby who has already stolen our hearts completely. We know what a difficult decision you made, and we want you to know that we will love and care for Lily as if she were born to us. We will tell her about you when the time is right, and we will make sure she knows that you loved her enough to want the best possible life for her. Thank you for the gift you've given us. With gratitude, the Martins. Attached was a photo of Lily at about 2 months old, dressed in a pink onesie, sleeping peacefully. I traced my finger over her face, memorizing every detail. The subsequent letters followed a pattern updates on her milestones. Descriptions of her personality, photos that showed her growing from an infant into a toddler and then a little girl. They didn't share specifics about their identity or location, but they painted a picture of a child who was deeply loved and well cared for. The most recent letter, from just a few months ago, included a photo of Lily on her 6th birthday, blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a unicorn. She had dark hair like mine, but it was curly, probably inherited from her father. Her smile was radiant. Lily is in 1st grade now and loves school, the letter read. She's particularly interested in art and can spend hours drawing and painting. She's curious and kind and has a wonderful sense of humor. She asks questions about everything and isn't satisfied with simple answers. We recently told her that she was adopted and she took it very well. She said, "So I have a birth mom and a mom. That means I'm extra loved. We're incredibly blessed to be her parents, and we think of you often and with such gratitude." I read that letter over and over again. Extra loved. My daughter thought she was extra loved. The adoptive parents had told her about me in a way that made her feel special rather than abandoned. Something inside me that had been wound tight since that doctor's appointment started to loosen slightly. Lily was okay. More than okay, she was thriving. She had parents who clearly adored her and were raising her to be confident and curious. They honored my place in her story rather than erasing me, but that didn't make it hurt any less. Over the following weeks, I started to piece together not just what had happened, but why. I went to therapy, real therapy, with a psychologist who specialized in trauma and memory. She helped me understand that my brain had been trying to protect me from a pain too enormous to process. The combination of the physical trauma, the psychological trauma, And the postpartum depression had created a perfect storm that my mind had dealt with by essentially walling off those memories. But now that the walls are coming down, the memories will likely return, Dr. Williams told me. It might happen gradually, or it might come in waves. Either way, you need to be prepared to feel the full weight of everything you've been through. She was right. The memories did come back slowly at first, and then in a rush. I remembered being pregnant, the morning sickness, the first time I felt Lily kick, the fear when Aaron became violent. I remembered the head injury, the confusion, the terrifying moments when I didn't know who I was or where I was. I remembered holding Lily for the first time and feeling overwhelmed by love and terror in equal measure. And I remembered the agony of signing the adoption papers, of watching them take her away, of feeling like I was dying from the inside out. The grief was crushing, but this time I didn't let myself shut down. I felt it all. I let myself mourn for the time I'd lost with my daughter, for the memories that had been stolen from both of us, for the version of myself who'd been so damaged she couldn't keep her own baby. Michael was my anchor through all of it. There were times when I wasn't sure our marriage would survive. This was so much more than either of us had signed up for. But he proved to be stronger and more compassionate than I'd given him credit for. "I'm not going anywhere," he told me one night when I tried to push him away. "I made vows to you. For better or worse. This is the worst, but we're going to get through it together. What about having our own children?" I asked him, "Is that even something you still want? Knowing that I already have a daughter out there?" He thought about it carefully before answering, which I appreciated. "I think we should wait," he said honestly. "Not forever, but until you've had time to process all of this. And when we're ready, we'll make that decision together. But Emma, you need to know Lily is part of your story. She doesn't have to be a secret or something we never talk about. She's your daughter, and that matters." His acceptance of the situation allowed me to finally accept it myself. I started writing letters to Lily, letters she might never see, but that helped me feel connected to her anyway. I wrote about who I was, what my life was like, what I hoped for her future. I told her about the grandmother and grandfather who'd agonized over letting her go. About the uncle she'd never met who died when I was 15. About the family history I wanted her to know someday. I also wrote to her adoptive parents through the agency, thanking them for the letters and photos, and for loving my daughter the way she deserved to be loved. I told them I wasn't trying to disrupt their family or reclaim Lily, but that if they were ever willing to share more information, I would be grateful. The agency said they'd forward the letter, but they couldn't guarantee the Martins would respond. 3 months passed. Then 6. I went back to work, though I'd switched to a different department that was less demanding. Michael and I started going on date nights again, rebuilding the intimacy we'd lost in the chaos. I celebrated my 33rd birthday surrounded by friends who now knew the truth. I decided that keeping secrets had done enough damage, and I needed people who understood what I was going through. My relationship with my parents was harder to repair. I understood intellectually that they'd been trying to help me, that they'd been terrified of losing me to suicide or complete mental breakdown. But emotionally, I couldn't get past the fact that they'd let me lose 2 months of my life and 6 years of knowing my daughter existed. We were working on it in family therapy, but the road to forgiveness was long. One evening in late spring, almost 8 months after that initial doctor's appointment, I came home from work to find Michael sitting at the kitchen table with an expression I couldn't quite read. In front of him was an envelope addressed to me, in care of Sarah Chun's office. It had been forwarded to our home address. "It came today," he said quietly. "I think it's from them." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in the same handwriting as the previous ones, and several photos. "Dear Emma," it began. "We received your letter through the agency, and we've spent a lot of time thinking about how to respond. First, we want you to know that we never intended to cause you more pain. When we wrote those early letters, we hoped they would bring you some comfort, but we weren't sure if you were receiving them or if you even wanted them. Your letter answered those questions and raised new ones for us. After much discussion and consultation with a family therapist who specializes in adoption, we've decided to share more with you than we originally planned. We believe that transparency and honesty are important, not just for you, but for Lily's sake. She's already asking more questions about where she came from, and we want to be able to answer them truthfully when the time is right. Our names are Rebecca and David Martin. We live in Portland, Oregon, about 3 hours from Seattle. Rebecca is a teacher, and David is an architect. We've been married for 12 years and tried for years to have biological children before turning to adoption. Meeting Lily or receiving the call that there was a baby who needed parents was the answer to our prayers. We want you to know that Lily is an extraordinary child. She's bright and creative and compassionate. She loves animals and wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up, though last week she changed her mind and decided she wants to be an artist instead. She's learning to play the piano and has a best friend named Sophie who lives next door. She's terrible at keeping her room clean but very good at making people laugh. We've always planned to tell Lily more about her adoption story as she gets older. And we've always intended to be honest about her origins. We think she should know about you not as some mysterious figure, but as a real person who made an impossible choice out of love for her. Here's what we'd like to propose. When Lily turns 8, in a little over a year, we'd like to arrange a meeting between you and her. Not as birth mother and child initially, that might be too confusing, but perhaps as someone important to your story. We would be there, of course, and we'd move at whatever pace felt right for Lily. This is a huge step. And we understand if you need time to think about it. But we believe that Lily deserves to know where she came from. And you deserve to know the incredible person she's becoming. If you're open to this, please let us know through the agency. We can correspond more directly as we work toward that potential meeting. No pressure, no expectations, just an invitation to be part of Lily's life in whatever way works for everyone involved. With respect and gratitude. Rebecca and David Martin. The photos that fell out of the envelope showed Lily in various settings, playing at a park, painting at an easel, hugging a large golden retriever, reading a book while curled up in a window seat. But the last photo was the one that made me break down completely. It was Lily holding a framed photograph. When I looked closer, I realized it was the hospital photo of me holding her as a newborn. The photo I'd been given from my medical records. On the back, someone had written, Lily asked if she could keep a picture of her birth mom in her room. We made a copy for her. I sat down heavily in the chair next to Michael, unable to speak. He looked at the letter and photos over my shoulder, and I felt his sharp intake of breath when he saw that last image. Emma, he said softly, they're giving you a gift. They're giving you both a gift. He was right. Rebecca and David Martin didn't have to do any of this. They could have kept those early letters to themselves or stopped writing them entirely. They could have kept Lily's existence completely separate from mine, the way closed adoptions were designed to work. Instead, they were offering me something I'd thought was impossible, a chance to know my daughter, but the offer also terrified me. What if Lily met me and was disappointed? What if my presence in her life confused her or made her feel disloyal to the parents who'd raised her? What if I wasn't what she expected or needed? I talked it through with Dr. Williams over several sessions. She reminded me that this wasn't about my needs or fears. It was about what was best for Lily, and according to research on adoption, children who had access to their birth parents' information tended to have healthier identities and fewer questions about where they came from. The Martins are being incredibly wise about this. Dr. Williams said, they're not trying to replace you or erase you. They're making room for you in Lily's story. That's the healthiest possible approach for an adopted child. After 2 weeks of agonizing over the decision, I wrote back to the Martins through the agency. I told them I would be honored to meet Lily when they felt the time was right. I thanked them for their openness and for raising my daughter with such obvious love and care. I also told them about my memory loss and recovery, feeling they deserved to know the full story of why I'd given Lily up and why I hadn't been in contact sooner. Their response came quickly. Rebecca wrote that she'd suspected there was more to my story than the bare facts in the adoption paperwork, and she was glad to finally understand. She also said that when the time came to explain my role in Lily's life, they would frame it in a way that was honest but age-appropriate. And that emphasized how much I loved her. "We'll tell her that you were very sick when she was born and couldn't take care of a baby," Rebecca wrote. "We'll tell her that you loved her so much that you wanted her to have a family who could give her everything she needed. And we'll tell her that you never forgot about her, and that when you got better, you wanted to know that she was okay." Is that acceptable to you? It was more than acceptable. It was the truth, told with kindness and compassion. The next year was a strange period of anticipation. I continued my therapy, worked on repairing my relationship with my parents, and tried to build a life that felt authentic and whole. Michael and I decided to put off trying to have another child until after I'd met Lily. We both agreed that such a significant event deserved my full attention. The Martins sent a few more letters and photos throughout the year. They told me about Lily's 7th birthday party, about how she'd learned to ride a bike without training wheels, about a school play where she played a singing sunflower. Each letter felt like a precious gift, a window into a life I'd missed. I sent letters back, sharing bits of my own life and answering questions Lily had apparently started asking about me. She wanted to know what my favorite color was, blue, if I liked animals, yes, especially dogs, and if I was good at art, not really, but I appreciated it. The fact that she was curious about me felt like a miracle. As Lily's 8th birthday approached, Rebecca reached out with a specific proposal. They wanted to meet for lunch at a neutral location, a family-friendly restaurant in Olympia, which was roughly halfway between Seattle and Portland. They'd told Lily she was going to meet someone special, a friend of theirs who had known her when she was a baby and wanted to see how much she'd grown. "We think it's important that the first meeting be casual," Rebecca wrote. "Low pressure, no big emotional revelations. Just a chance for you both to see each other in person and for Lily to start forming her own impression of you. If it goes well and she seems comfortable, we can tell her more about who you are during a follow-up conversation. Does that work for you?" It worked perfectly. I appreciated their thoughtfulness in planning this carefully rather than just throwing us together and hoping for the best. The day of the meeting, I must have changed my outfit 5 times. "What do you wear to meet the daughter you gave up 6 years ago? What do you wear to meet the you wear to meet the daughter you wear to meet the daughter you gave up 6 years ago?" I finally settled on jeans and a blue sweater, casual but put together. Nothing that would make me seem like I was trying too hard. Michael offered to come with me for moral support, but I decided I needed to do this alone. This was my journey, my daughter, my chance to see if there could be a relationship between us. I arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early and sat in my car, practicing breathing exercises to calm my racing heart. At exactly noon, I saw them pull into the parking lot. David got out first, tall and sandy-haired with a kind face. Then Rebecca, petite with red hair and freckles. And then Lily. She'd grown so much since the last photos. She was all long legs and wild dark curls, wearing a purple dress and sneakers. She was bouncing excitedly, clearly happy to be going out to lunch, not knowing that this meal would change everything. I waited a few minutes before getting out of my car, giving them time to get settled inside. When I finally entered the restaurant, my legs were shaking so badly I thought I might fall. The hostess directed me to their table, and as I approached, Rebecca stood up and smiled. She was prettier in person, with warm brown eyes that held no judgment or resentment, only openness. "Emma," she said, extending her hand. "It's so good to finally meet you in person." "You too," I managed to say, shaking her hand and then David's. And then I looked down at Lily, who was watching me with undisguised curiosity. Up close, I could see myself in her face, the shape of her eyes, the way her mouth curved. But I could also see Erin in the set of her jaw and the curl of her hair. She was a perfect blend of two people who had created something beautiful, even in the midst of chaos. "Hi," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You must be Lily." "Hi," she said back, confident and bright. "Mom said you knew me when I was a baby. Do you have any good stories?" I laughed, relieved by her directness. "I do, actually. Should we sit down and order some food first?
I find that good stories always go better with French fries.
Lily's face lit up. I like French fries too. And chicken fingers. And chocolate milkshakes. Lily, let's not order the entire menu, David said with gentle humor, and I heard the love in his voice. The patient affection of a father who'd been through this lunch negotiation many times before. We sat down, and the next hour was both the strangest and most natural thing I'd ever experienced. Lily talked nonstop about school, her best friend Sophie, her dog, the golden retriever from the photos, whose name was Biscuit, her piano lessons, and the fact that she'd recently lost her first tooth. Rebecca and David watched with amusement, occasionally helping to steer the conversation or translate Lily's rapid-fire stories for me. I shared some of my own stories carefully, edited versions that an 8-year-old would find interesting. I told her about the time I'd accidentally dyed my hair green in college, about my job helping companies figure out how to talk to people online, about the fact that I was terrible at cooking but excellent at baking cookies. Can you make chocolate chip cookies? Lily asked eagerly. I can, I told her. It's actually my specialty. Maybe you could make some for us sometime, Rebecca said carefully. And I understood the implication this wasn't going to be the only meeting. This could be the start of something ongoing. Toward the end of lunch, Lily excused herself to go to the bathroom,
Giving me a moment alone with Rebecca and David?
She's amazing, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You've done such a beautiful job with her. She makes it easy, Rebecca said. Emma, I need you to know something. When we decided to adopt, we knew we weren't just taking responsibility for a child. We were stepping into a larger story that included you and your family. We've never seen you as a threat or a problem. We've seen you as Lily's birth mother, and that's a sacred role. I wiped at my eyes, trying not to cry in the middle of the restaurant. Thank you for letting me be part of her life. I know you didn't have to do this. Actually, we did, David said. We did it for Lily. She deserves to know all of herself, including where she came from. And I think you deserve to see that the impossible choice you made led to something good. Lily came bounding back to the table, and Rebecca gently steered us toward wrapping up the lunch. As we walked out to the parking lot, Lily surprised me by giving me a hug. It was nice to meet you, she said into my sweater. Will you come to lunch with us again? I looked up at Rebecca, who nodded with a smile. I would love that, I told Lily. Okay, good. Next time you have to tell me more stories about when you were in college. The green hair one was really funny. As I watched them walk to their car, Lily's hand in David's, Rebecca's arm around her shoulders, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 months' peace. Not the absence of pain, because the grief of missing 6 years of Lily's life would always be there, but peace with the fact that she was exactly where she needed to be, with people who loved her completely. Over the next several months, we met regularly for lunch. Sometimes it was just the 4 of us. Other times, Michael came along. Lily seemed to genuinely enjoy our time together, and slowly, Rebecca and David began to tell her more about who I was. The day they sat her down and explained that I was her birth mother, I wasn't there. Rebecca called me afterward to tell me how it had gone. She took it very well, Rebecca said. She asked a lot of questions, why you couldn't keep her, if you were sad, if you thought about her. We told her the story we discussed, about how you were sick and wanted her to have the best possible life. We also told her that you're healthy now and that you think about her all the time. What did she say? I asked, my heart in my throat. She said, so Emma is my birth mom and you're my mom and dad is my dad, right? That's what I thought. Then she wanted to know if this meant she could have 2 birthday parties. I laughed through my tears. That sounds like Lily. Emma, she wants to call you Emma, not Mom, if that's okay. We want to make sure there's no confusion about roles. That's completely fine, I said immediately. I don't want to confuse her or make her feel like she has to choose between us. You're her parents. I'm grateful to be in her life at all. The next time I saw Lily, she ran up to me and said, Emma, Mom told me you're my birth mom. Is that true? It is, I said, kneeling down to her level. Cool, she said matter-of-factly. Sophie's aunt is her godmother, and Ben's uncle comes to all his soccer games.
Now I have a birth mom who takes me to lunch. That's pretty special, right?
Very special, I agreed, amazed at her resilience and acceptance. Life settled into a new rhythm. I saw Lily once a month, usually for lunch or an afternoon activity.
Sometimes Rebecca and David were there. Sometimes they let me take her out on my own, trusting that I would bring her back safely and not try to disrupt her life.
I never forgot that trust, and I never violated it. I went to one of her piano recitals and brought flowers.
I helped her with a school project about family trees,
carefully figuring out how to include myself without overshadowing Rebecca and David. I taught her how to make my famous chocolate chip cookies, and she declared them the best cookies in the whole world except for Mom's snickerdoodles.
My relationship with my parents slowly healed,
especially after Lily met them, and immediately bonded with my mother over a shared love of puzzles. Seeing my mom with Lily helped me understand the impossible position she'd been in 6 years ago, trying to balance my safety with her granddaughter's well-being. Michael and I eventually started trying for another baby, and this time, the process felt different. I wasn't desperate to fill a void anymore.
I was ready to become a mother again, on purpose this time, fully present and healthy.
When I got pregnant a few months before Lily's 9th birthday,
I was nervous to tell her, worried she might feel replaced. Instead, she was excited.
"I'm going to be a big sister," she announced to Sophie.
Well, kind of. Emma is having a baby, and Emma is my birth mom, so that makes the baby.
What? My birth sibling?
We all laughed at her logic, but she wasn't wrong. Biologically, my new baby would be Lily's half-sibling.
We decided to let her define the relationship however felt right to her. The years that followed weren't perfect. There were moments when I felt the sharp pain of everything I'd missed with Lily, her first steps, her first words, the toddler years, all of it gone forever. There were times when she called Rebecca Mom in front of me, and it stung, even though I knew it was right and appropriate. There were occasions when I had to miss seeing her because of distance or scheduling conflicts, and I felt the loss acutely, but there were also moments of pure joy. Like when Lily came to the hospital to meet her baby brother Jack and held him so carefully, declaring him the cutest baby ever except for me. Like when she asked if she could spend the night at my house for the first time, and we stayed up late making pillow forts and eating popcorn. Like when she created a Mother's Day card for both Rebecca and me, with different messages that showed she understood the unique role each of us played in her life. Now, as I sit here with Jack playing at my feet and a photo of Lily on my desk, one from her 10th birthday party that she gave me herself, I think about that day in Dr. Chen's office when my world fell apart. I think about the words that changed everything. "You've already had a child." At the time, those words felt like a bomb going off, destroying the life I thought I knew. But looking back now, I see them differently. They were the beginning of a journey back to a part of myself I'd lost. They led me to Lily, to the truth, to a complicated but beautiful relationship that wouldn't exist if I'd never sought that fertility consultation. I'm not the same person I was before I knew about Lily.
I carry grief and guilt that will probably never fully disappear.
I live with the knowledge that I missed years of my daughter's life and that those years are gone forever. But I also live with gratitude for Rebecca and David's extraordinary generosity, for Lily's resilience and openness, for Michael's steadfast love, and for the fact that even when our stories take the most unexpected turns, there can still be hope and healing on the other side.
Lily calls me sometimes now, just to chat about her day or ask my opinion on something. She FaceTimes with Jack and makes him giggle by making funny faces.
She tells her friends at school that she has 2 families who love her a lot. She's teaching me that families can take many forms, and that love isn't a limited resource that has to be divided up, it multiplies. I'm writing this all down because someone out there might need to hear it.
Maybe you're going through something that feels impossible.
Maybe your past has shown up in unexpected ways and turned your present upside down. Maybe you've made choices you regret or a lost time you can never get back. I want you to know that it's possible to carry both grief and joy, loss and love, regret and gratitude. I want you to know that sometimes the most broken things can heal in ways you never imagined. If you're watching this and my story resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone in our struggles makes all the difference. And if you found something valuable here, if this helped you feel less alone or gave you hope, please consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it too. We're all walking each other home, as they say. And sometimes a shared story is the light that helps us find our way. The journey isn't over for me, for Lily, for any of us. We're still figuring out what this relationship looks like as she gets older, what boundaries need to exist, how to navigate holidays and milestones. But we're figuring it out together with honesty and love and an extraordinary amount of grace from everyone involved. I went for a fertility consultation expecting to talk about my future. Instead, I discovered my past. And in doing so, I found a version of myself I didn't know existed, a mother who had loved her daughter enough to let her go, and who was lucky enough to find her way back. Sometimes, the most surprising endings are really just the beginning of a new story. This is mine, and I'm grateful for every unexpected turn it's taken.